on for a minute, on for a minute, yeah. On for a minute, on for a minute, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. We just gonna run right through it. I can't be bothered with that. I'm right on time, God is my witness. I'm not with the kitchen, my spirit is lifted. I'm out of my mind, yeah, I've been evicted. These bitches explicit, y'all niggas restricted. They all out of line, this shit too funny. I needed a reason to take the whole season and pop on your line and put your whole roller right back in the bind. This shit is a blowout, but don't act surprised. Oh, bitches be flocking like pigeons. I promised to give them a crumb of the pie. Oh, y'all wasn't with me when I had no money and I had a nickel and dime. So if you ain't family, my brothers, my sisters, my makers, the ones I would die for. I could care less if you die slow. I ain't ashamed if you can't tell. We provide a different vision. They ain't buying what you sell. All them lies that you've been given, and y'all need to cut it. This whole shit is scripted. The industry turning to Monday Night Raw. Oh, I've been winning, so I'm never tripping on all of my failures and all of my flaws. Just the beginning, the way I've been living. I'm just getting started. I'm here for a while. Years in the making. I'm never complacent. I've been getting paper since I was a child. It's a new era. My fit in New York, but my attitude Jersey, and y'all know what's up. I see the judgment, the hate, and the anger, but I'm doing me, and I don't give a fuck. What?
7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Like an unemployed nigga with your eyes on the dime. Wasn't born in the 50s, but your eyes on the prize. It's like the only thing that matters is her and yourself. You the only thing she see, and she see nobody else. She got your heart beating fast, she's a highly superb. You wanna give her love, making that a body deserve. First you gotta step into her mind, grab her by the hand, hit the floor, step into her grind. She came with her girls, but she's standing alone, and she turning brothers down like they applying for loans. Cause she waiting on you, so brothers hating on you. It's kinda funny what potential love making her do. Check the scene, the club is filled with other guys. Better get like the winner and lose them butterflies. Better stop being scared, nigga, lose your fear factor. Shawty waiting on you, go ahead and get at her.
Nigga, man up, don't be scared, don't get that girl. She must be feeling you, she grilling from across the floor. So why you contemplating wasting time? Let's go. You better spit your game and paint that juicy coochie froze. So why you butterflies and signs, start your progression, stressing, guessing could it be you and her together flexing, huh? What's really going on? We going home and not let a nigga know something before I roll up out the spot.
Up in the club with gentlemen, most thugs congregate besides church, vibing off the same frequency, megahertz. It's just that preachers and pulpits are replaced with beautiful hips and outfits so revealing, concealing only half of the rest is this analysis. Proceed like this. When I lift to the gluteus, you hear a couple of minutes, depends on what mood she grooves to this, sipping on goose to this. For instance, we up in the club relaxing, one fat ass had me screaming, oh Lord, like Mahalia Jackson. Attraction, so spontaneous, my eyes aiming at this dime piece, looking sweet like a Reese's Piece from a beat deceased. To levitate across the room to get in position to conversate, gotta do this real soon, better not procrastinate or debate how my gang gon' get by. How in the hell I'ma tell this beautiful chick that she's my butterfly? I ain't gon' lie, I'm running out of time, figuring out what I'm gon' say is like an MC waiting on writing his first line.
Nigga, man up, don't be scared, don't get that girl. She must be feeling you, she grilling from across the floor. So why you contemplating wasting time? Let's go. You better spit your game and paint that juicy coochie froze. So why you butterflies and signs, start your progression, stressing, guessing could it be you and her together flexing, huh? What's really going on? We going home and not let a nigga know something before I roll up out the spot.
Damn, I told these cats don't feel like he ain't here. They out here chasing these skirts. I'm lifting spirits with Bill. Got me released into a heightened nuisance. I gave my 2 cents and then I shut up. Cause Rod ain't trying to be a nuisance. So I paced the club, past the cigarette smoke. This seeing hams is pumping. This nigga early in I seen a silhouette. It made me drop my mouth. I heard a voice in my head. That's what I'm talking about. I seen this pretty dame with a beady frame, with a short black mane, ass so chunky that said would entertain. Her raps were minimal, mini skirt, my baby fat. She wore a matching P-top that exposed the latest tats. Butterfly, right in the middle of Little Italy. What if I tried to go holler and she ain't feeling me? Silly me, waving me over into her parts. My balls don't need G, my dick was coming out hard. I tried to move her with my thing on swole, dog, that's a no. My pose in position, but all systems ain't go. I started doubting myself. She ain't talking about me. I'm back to crack like drugs. drug dealer, Maze cookie. I cleared my throat, took a breath, yeah, I'm smelling her now. In CK, I lit a boy, reached out, but somehow hesitation caught me. A Calgon took me away, and now the rest of the night, my song is.
Nigga, man up, don't be scared down, get that girl. She must be feeling you, she grilling from across the floor. So why you contemplating wasting time? Let's go. You better split your game and bang that juicy coochie, bro. So why you butterflies and signs, start your progression, stressing, guessing, could it be you and her together, flexing, huh? What's really going on? We going home or not? Let a nigga know something before I roll up out the spot. Nigga, man up, don't be scared down, get that girl. She must be feeling you, she grilling from across the floor. So why you contemplating wasting time? Let's go. You better spit your game and bang that juicy coochie, bro. So why you butterflies and signs, call your progression, stressing, guessing, could it be you and her together, flexing, huh? What's really going on? We going home or not? Let a nigga know something before I roll up out the spot.
Quarantine has got me thinking about you when I don't even want you here. I'm trying to be comfortable with myself, but these dreams won't let me be. I can fly across the world to be far away from you. The universe will find its way to bring us together again. Even in my dreams, you're there. In my dreams, you're there. Even in my dreams, you're there. In my dreams, you were playing Corcovado on a beach in Brazil. You were reaching over to kiss me. Then I woke up in my bed alone once again. Quarantine has got me thinking about you when I don't even want you here. Trying to be comfortable with myself, but these dreams won't let me be. I can fly across the world to be far away from you, but the universe will find its way to bring us together again. Even in my dreams, you're there. In my dreams, you're there. Even in my dreams, you're there. In my
When you put yourself in uncomfortable moments, you find out a lot about yourself. And usually you find out that you're capable of rising to that bar that's set by that uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, let's cut this bullshit. I told y'all time is up, and I'm the illest with this rhyme and stuff. Barber flow the way I line this up. I hit my goals without a hockey puck. Now watch my mind heat up. N-A-Z-I-R, don't add an S to this shit. But it don't matter how it's written. and Nas the best and that's it. Last year was really stressful as shit. And one thing about Karma, don't try to screw her, she's a petty little bitch. Had some wins, had some losses, it's funny how truth can cost us. The lies that live amongst us is how reality's altered. Too thorough for this shit, the way I see it is altered. Pay attention, time will tell, the way I see it was fostered. This here is my living proof. I spent some time in the booth to finally tell my truth. Yes, they finally let me loose. This here is merely a statement of all that I'm finna do. Been telling y'all for a while, so for Joyride is coming soon. Now we here, nigga.
Are we on? Oh, hey guys. I'm gonna take this hat off. I wanted to represent my bro, Falair. I felt like it went with the outfit, but I'm not digging the lighting that is creating on my face. So, how are you guys doing? It's your girl Ari, aka Nadia Sabe. Go by a bunch of other names. Let me turn this around. But today we are back for the Run It Back podcast. We are currently on episode 35, and I believe this is going to be the last episode of the year before we move into 2023, y'all. Big deal going into 2023, closing the year out. A lot of people don't actually know this, but Dare and Defy was started in January of 2022, like paperwork wise. So we're actually going to be celebrating a year of Dare and Defy being an established company, which is really exciting. I picked up on it in terms of, going full steam ahead in October of 2022 after, a fairly long career of just working for other people and helping other people realize their visions. And that's a big part of what I do. But, like I said, in October, I really took that jump after stopping, both of the jobs or volunteer positions, I guess you could say, that I was working at. I was a junior talent agent for some time. My contract was up. I managed a music department at another Orlando company for a long time, and things happened with that I ended up leaving. And October is when I started everything and really decided to put my all into it. And it's been a crazy journey so far, but like I said, on paper, Dare and Defy has been around for a year, and in the ether and consciousness, Dare and Defy has been around for forever. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad to say that technically we've been celebrating a year in January, and I'm excited to see what 2023 brings. Obviously, in music, it's going to be an interesting year. Very cool updates that we have continued to talk about together for many months now. I started this podcast. Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I could go and I could find when. But I started it in school while I was still at Full Sail. It was actually one of my assignments to create a podcast for the class that, we were to, it was all done audio, right? So I would hop on GarageBand with my $30 mic that I record demos on, and did the podcast, did the research for it, and did it all audio. But I sound like a news reporter still. I think that I have that little twang to me. But it was so polished and evident, but not in a polished way, but it just sounded very fake. You know what I'm saying? And it was only audio, and I did it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna keep up with this. I like this. I think it's useful. The goal for it is, yes, to be for independent artists to know what's going on in the industry, but more for folks like myself who, it's a lot of research to do. I hop on my computer and I do research every day for the podcast, and not everyone has time to do that, but still needs to know the information. So that's kind of where, the idea for Run It Back came, and now we're on episode 35 of 35 weeks, almost non-stop doing this podcast. And those who have seen the first episode know how much it's grown, because I used to, just like I said, it would be maybe 15-20 minutes, or I think some of them were a lot longer, but would release it on SoundCloud and YouTube, no visuals. And now and this is a perfect time to thank our sponsors, Innerspace Orlando, for and partners in life and business and everything, for being the reason why we have just seen this much growth and are as awesome as we are now. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, so 2022 was definitely a year of growth, definitely a year of change. And I think that, at least for myself and a lot of people I know, 2023 is going to be, I think the beginning of it is going to be the tail end of that change, and reorienting ourselves to flow with that change as best as possible, and then like sitting in it and riding. I think that 2023 is going to be awesome for a lot of people, and just in general. So I'm excited for everyone to be making their resolutions and striving to be the best that they possibly can, you know what I'm saying, for 2023. So with that being said, that long overdrawn intro, let's get into the content today. We actually don't have any music to review today. The submissions were low, so I figured let's make the last episode relatively short, or the last episode of this year relatively short, and just talk about some news, talk about some stuff, and I will save all of those submissions for the first episode of next year. And with that, I'm going to be talking about like my favorite stuff of 2020. We'll see. I might talk about my favorite stuff of 2022 today at the end. We'll figure it out. But yes, if I'm not getting to you today, because I'm not getting to anyone, I will get to you not next week, but the next episode. And please follow up with me if you just want to make sure that you're getting reviewed. Just make sure that you send me a DM or an email. So, first things first, we talked a little bit about this last week with the R. Kelly case, and I was like, I didn't know if I wanted to continue talking about it, but I feel like an investigator with this in the way that the distributors and the labels are shifting blame, and that's really what I wanted to talk about, because I saw this article. We had talked about last week how it was kind of like R. Kelly was disputing it, but then there was a statement that like Ingrooves had put it out, but the label was so nobody, basically the idea was like nobody knew who the fuck put this out, who had it, how it got out, and how it got onto R. Kelly's official DSP platforms. And that's where my thing comes into play, where I was like, this just feels like fishy. And yeah, so I'm gonna read this excerpt and then we'll talk about it a little bit afterwards. So his lawyer said that Kelly's master recordings were stolen around the time of his arrest on the sex trafficking crimes charged February 2019, potentially via recording equipment or a hard drive. She declined to identify potential culprits. Representatives for Apple Music and Spotify did not immediately respond to requests for comment from the Post, which is where this article is from. Speaking to Variety, a Spotify representative said, "This content has been removed from the platform at the request of the distributor." Okay, right. So I just want to like put pins in certain sentences. Billboard and Variety reported that the album was released by the label Real Talk Entertainment and uploaded through Ingrooves, a Universal Music Group distributor that both outlets says is now cutting ties with Real Talk. So apparently, this label Real Talk that had control over this utilized the resources around to get this out. And now my thing, once again, and I said this last time, I don't understand how it got up the chain of command. Okay, Real Talk may have set the thing in motion, but if it was released through Ingrooves, somebody at Ingrooves knew what was going on and didn't, like, that's where my brain kind of malfunctions with it, or just doesn't understand. I do understand. They're all stupid. Like, and I don't mean it to, like, sound like that, but, like, they just, I don't know who thought it was okay, what happened, but it's just, and now everyone, like I said, it feels just like a lot of people are shifting blame. And anyways, the songs reportedly were released via Real Talk sub-label called Legacy Recordings, which has the same name as Sony Music label. A representative for Sony Music's Legacy Recordings confirmed to the Post that it did not release the songs. Representatives from Ingrooves and Real Talk could not immediately be reached for comment. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much said all that I need to say about it. I don't know if we're going to find out if somebody actually stole these master recordings and somehow got it through Ingrooves. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But the whole thing just seems really fishy to me, and I hope that we do, because it's like, it just shouldn't have been able to happen. And I hope that if anything comes from it, that new safeguards are put in place so that stuff like this doesn't happen again. Boom, bada bing, bada bow. Moving on. When your Spotify Wrapped, when you open your 2022 Spotify Wrapped, you'll notice a multicolored and multi-layered graphics that were that are as dimensional as your listening habits. The team behind Wrapped is just as expansive, with data scientists, engineers, copywriters, designers, music and podcast editors, and more. Uniting it all is Mary Ron, Global Group Creative Director at Spotify. I just wanted to shout them out. I feel like it's something that I know the majority of the people who are tuning in utilize this feature of Spotify Wrapped or the Apple Recap or whatever, which we all know comes from Spotify Wrapped. Thanks. I'm a Spotify, like, I may not like the way they treat. This is so bad in terms of, like, you put your dollar where your ethics are. I may hate Spotify when it comes to, and just streaming in general, it's not even just Spotify, when it comes to royalty payouts, but I love Spotify, I like the algorithmic playlists, and just, I fuck with Spotify, like, very heavy. Anyways, but I wanted to recognize the people behind it, because like I said, I know a lot of people, you know, if not most people, were involved in the project as, you know, a consumer, but the people who made it happen, you know, in terms of design, I don't think it's like amazing, and I'm not gonna bullshit and act like the Spotify Wrapped designs for the past couple of years have been phenomenal. But, you know, there are people who make it happen in terms of the content that is in there. Definitely the people who deal with data and just putting all of those things together. And of course, Mary Ron, who, you know, she headed the ship of this. And like I said, just showing them some recognition. But I also wanted to show, and I might talk about the story that kind of follows what I'm about to say after, instead of some other stuff in between. There are so many people who went into it. You know, it wasn't just one graphic designer, one data analyst that made Spotify Wrapped. It was a whole team of people that do different things, and that their career doesn't just stop in Spotify Wrapped. They're a year-long employee, you know, that has a real place in the machine of the industry. So the next thing that I am going to talk about, how I mentioned, is working in music without being an artist. I came across this article, and I just wanted to touch on it because I talk about it, you know, with my people, my clients, and things like that. But I wanted to, you know, continue to solidify that there are ways to work in creative industries and in entertainment in general that do not have to do, first of all, with being the star, being front and center stage, which not everyone wants to do. It's not possible for everyone. You need a plan B, and I am a Swiss Army knife, right? And I advocate for other Swiss Army knives, you know, and jacks of all trades. I think it's impossible to be a master of one. I don't, like, unless you're born with it, let me just put it like this, and this is going to be, like, real, like, brash, but I'm willing to say it. Unless you're born with, like, Michael Jackson talent, Whitney talent, you're not going to be as big as them. You can get some, but you're not going to have, it's not going to be the same unless you're born with it. Some people are born with it, some people aren't. You don't have to be that to be successful and to be the star, but, you know, anyways. And there's just so many other things that you can do in entertainment while still being creative and still being a part of it, still having fun, still having a fulfilling career. And I like to spread that message because I feel like it's necessary, right? With that being said, just to list off some things and to talk a little bit about what they do in the industry, here are some things that you can do in music without being an artist. Obviously, a producer, that's a kind of go-to one of where you're maybe not the artist, the person who is writing the lyrics, or maybe you are writing lyrics, but you're not the vocalist. Being a producer, someone who is either making the beats or directing people in the instrumentation, directing the artist in terms of what direction, and creating a sound, and working very closely, and being another part of that artist's musical mind and being able to put it into fruition, right? You have a journalist. So I don't know if I would consider myself a journalist, but someone who does similar stuff to what I do in terms of this podcast and reporting news, writing articles. So I utilize a lot of journalists. Y'all help me out a lot. Things along those lines. There's also photojournalists who integrate photography with what they do. An editor. This could go into many different fields in terms of like production. Like the main thing that comes to mind for me is someone who would edit something like this podcast, or who would edit content and videos and things of those natures, music videos as well, things like that. A conductor. So this isn't something that a lot of people think of, and definitely very music theory heavy, and technically, you know, on the forefront when it comes to music, but a conductor, so someone who conducts an orchestra or who conducts, a string quartet of some sorts. And there's definitely other places where it can be utilized. A songwriter is another pretty obvious one, someone who is supplying the lyrics for a vocalist. An agent, so there's two ways that we can think about this, and there's, other ways, but the two that I primarily hone in on are a sync agent and a booking agent. So a sync agent is someone who is essentially like a broker between an artist and a music supervisor. So music supervisors are another thing that's actually I put right underneath. Music supervisors help. Essentially what they do is they are in charge of the music for films and TV, right? So they are the person in charge of collecting the licenses, gathering composers, making sure that everything is on track for the production, right? So your agent, your sync agent, like I said, is your broker between that personnel who has the ability to really make decisions on placement. They are the decision maker. And the artist who wants to get their music placed so that they can collect not only upfront licensing fees, but points on the back end, of course. And then a booking agent is the person who is going to actually book you shows. So, if you want to be booked for Rolling Loud, your booking agent is going to be responsible for that. So on and so forth. And most people starting out, your manager will be your booking agent, but they're really not supposed to be. You do have to be licensed to be an agent. So you're really not supposed to book shows as a manager unless you have a license for it. But, on small scale things, it's really not that, I wouldn't say a big of a deal, or noticeable really, because it's not as formal, rather, I would say. But once you get into that space, yes, and definitely, make sure you're minding your P's and Q's on that. Just a tidbit. You could be a manager. We just talked about them. You could, manage somebody's career, essentially act as their operations manager, make sure things run smoothly, handle their career so they can focus on the art. If you're into administration and delegation, you would like it. It is also task driven depending on the size of your team, and if you're growing with your artist, or if you're kind of swooping in and making sure, once again, with that delegation. But yeah, I'm not going to go into that tangent. We'll talk about it most likely another time. Anyways, you could also just be an instrumentalist or a studio musician. Learn how to play an instrument, practice it very well, and go ahead and go for it. Or a photographer or a videographer. I'm sure you see them at all of your shows and all the events. They're, if not one of the most important parts to make sure that you're capturing what's happening, yes, extremely needed. And then AV, front of house, anything that has to do with audio engineering, live mixing, anything that has to do with lighting, show pro and stage hands, all of these different things in the live space that we could talk about. That's its whole other, honestly, just industry, obviously, sector of its own. And further with that, harm reduction is something, if you're interested in making sure that you're keeping people safe. Security is another example of that. Fan engagement. So if you're someone who likes to make sure that, or who would be interested in making sure that people who are going to concerts and listening to people's music are as connected as possible and have the best experiences as possible, that could be a place that you're interested in either learning about or delving into. Marketing, huge. 80% of business in general is marketing. So whether you want to be an analyst or you want to be someone, once again, with that management, delegation, and decision-making, power, that could be somewhere you want to go into. Project management, graphic design is another huge one. Creative direction is another huge one. If you like makeup and hair, being a part of a glam team, styling clothes, if that's something that you like, public relations, getting more away from the creative and fun stuff, but public relations and dealing with, radio stations, publications, TV shows, or late night TV shows more specifically, and stuff like that. Assistance, you could just be someone who helps, make sure that the oil is running. Data analytics, which we talked a little bit about before, but hugely important, and that goes into marketing, fan engagement, data analytics is everything. Social media management is another huge one, is another place where and a lot of this, if you can't tell, can be used in different arenas, because everything is just a business, but we need them in music as well, right? And then promotion and talent buying, so kind of the other end of the booking agent shtick of the people who, you know, are tasked with getting the musicians and paying for them and so on and so forth. But yeah, so like I said, I just wanted to touch on some of that stuff. I talk a lot about it with my people once again, but I like to broaden the horizons of what we view the music industry as, because it is a machine and you don't necessarily understand that until you get into it. So if I can paint a picture more of what things look like, I want to do that, because I think, ooh, are we good, PJ? Oh, okay, just want to make sure. My screen went black on my end, but yeah, I like to broaden the picture and just show people in whatever way I can that there's a lot more moving parts that make things work. And yeah, so that's that. The next thing I want to talk about, I think, is really interesting. Gucci Mane drops an 80-song album that runs for almost 4 hours. I did not listen to the whole thing. I don't have the attention span for that, in all honesty. I've heard glimpses of it, and I was listening to it as I was doing some very terrible math that I could have probably done in such a much easier way. But he dropped this on December 6th, I believe, and I think it was something that I did this shitty math like 4 or 5 days after, something like that. There's approximately like 3.5 million streams per song if you average it out. So I thought it was really interesting because I'm going down, I'm like going on the streams, like adding everything into a calculator, dividing everything, making sure I get this average that is probably not correct and is obviously different now, of course, as well, because this was a couple days ago. Some of these songs have as low as like 17,000 plays or like 12,000 plays, and then some of them have like 150 million plays, where that's where we get that average of like almost 3 million per. But there's 80 songs. So if you do the math, 80 times 3 million is a large number of streams that he collected in a very short period of time, like maybe, like I said, maybe 4 or 5 days. And I think it's because the project was so long. Like, obvious, man, I just don't even, I don't know if this was an experiment, but I would have done it as an experiment if it was me dropping this, just to see, because they made so much money in like 5 days, and they're still gonna make a lot more money, because it's not, we talk about like how much it takes to get to $1,000 in streaming value and things like that, but the volume that they put out, 80 songs, like I said, around 3 million per song, like they did very well with this. Like I said, I didn't listen to all of it, so I can't speak on like the quality of the album, but it's a lot of music, and they ran it up, and I just think it's really interesting. And if we do figure out that like this was an experiment or something like this, I don't know, but I think it's something to pay attention to in terms of how superstars, you could put it, are able to move because of their audiences. Obviously, this wouldn't be possible for Tom, Dick, and Harry, who have 20 monthly listeners on Spotify. And that's no shade to you guys. I love you. But you can't release an 80-song, multiple disc project and expect for these kind of numbers. Gucci Mane can, because it's Gucci Mane. Like, I don't know, but, do I even know where I am going with this? Because I just thought it was interesting and I wanted to talk about it. And now I'm on this tangent that I don't know where the end of it is, so I'm going to move on. While Madison has already a popular destination for outdoors enthusiasts, as well as fans of beer, cheese, and sports, it is also continuing to develop its cultural landscape. One area of that is music. And the Greater Madison City Project is looking to push that development forward with their forward thinking on where to take Madison's musical potential. It turns out that our music in Dane County basically generates $363 million, Reese said. 5,791 jobs generated across the county, with a total of 218 million in total earnings. This is another thing that I wanted to touch on, and just in terms of like a little bit of really just how much money can be generated in city by city with independent music, truly. And I kind of wanted to like inspire, if I can, Orlando a little bit to like see like we could make more than $636 million off of the phenomenal talent that we have here and the tourism that is our city. You know what I'm saying? If we're able to get our people in certain rooms, we could make more than this. And it's a lot of money. So I don't know. Yeah, come on. Let's come together, guys. It's the end of the year. Let's move into 2023, taking Mickey Mouse by his ears and riding on into the sunset of lots of zeros, right? But yeah, I thought it was cool. Like just this town is like, yeah, our culture and the music is generating a huge figure for us, and we want to continue putting into that. And I think that that's really cool. And I think, once again, an eye-opener on the opportunity that a lot of people have. Like, of course, I'm mentioning Orlando because that's where I am. But, we're not the only city that has this potential that is not yet tapped into, right? Okay. The next thing is about AI. AI-generated performers and music have the potential to completely remove human input. Once we pass the threshold, we'll be forced to confront a host of novel questions about about how non-human creators will be treated. Will they be paid? Who will own the copyright to their songs? Will they be eligible to win awards such as Grammys? In 2019, the U.S. Copyright Office rejected a copyright claim for a piece of AI-generated art, stating that it lacks the human authorship necessary to support a copyright claim. What happens when AI-generated music breaks through the charts and the AI's creator wants to get paid? Is the programmer really the author of that work? Moreover, what recognition should the underlying scores that fed the machine receive, including attribution and royalties? Combine that with other ways technology is influencing the industry, from the metaverse to Web3, and it's clear that we need to rethink the existing laws, rules, and business models that govern the economics of listening to music. These considerations are the reason why, in October of 2022, U.S. Senator Tom Tillis and Chris Coons called for the formation of a national AI commission. This might be the most interesting and actually most important story that I talk about today. It really is, the crux of it is in those last couple of sentences. And just in the truth of it is who gets paid from AI, but especially when it comes to who gets paid when there are underlying scores, just crazy magnitudes of them that are going into these AI generated, melodies or whatever the situation is. Is the person who programmed it going to get it? Are we okay with giving Grammys to robots or to programmers who programmed a robot to do something? And what is that going to look like? Because we talked about like this case law in 2019 when, once again, they rejected a copyright claim for a piece of AI-generated art, stating that it lacks the human authorship necessary to support a copyright claim, which in my head, this essentially shows, okay, so the programmer is going to make it. But I think even then I would have to look into this case a little bit more. I don't think that I don't think that it was deemed sufficient for copyright in the first place. So I think it's interesting. And, there's been I've seen a lot of like activism actually against AI and the fact of like we should not be using these apps and these things because they're stealing other people's art and putting, your measurements of your face or so on and so forth. I don't know the truth. And the thing is I don't think any of us know the truth. Who am I to say, with all the art and all of the artists and all of the things on the internet, that when I went and I used whatever AI thing that I did, that the computer didn't just copy and paste somebody's image and then put my proportions with like deepfake technology and shit into this random person's painting who now I have access to it. Maybe she commissioned it to someone. Maybe she does have it copyrighted. I don't know that. You don't know that. The only people who do, are the programmers and the people who are working it themselves. But I think that in general, AI opens up, as all of the movies have told us for so long, a can of worms that we don't have the capacity to understand yet. I'm not going to say that AI is going to bring on like the end of the world, because I don't know. But I think that that's the basis of it all, is that none of us know. We really don't know until it happens. And, you know, we're on the journey. So I think that we're going to find out. But when it comes to copyright and things like that, I think that having the AI commission is going to help, because there does need to be rigorous discussion about these things and making sure that, you know, people aren't being exploited, and making sure that, you know, if we need to, we keep the AI on our side. You know what I'm saying? Like, that could be a part of the discussion. But yeah, I urge you, if you work in entertainment or if you live life on planet Earth, that you look into what's going on with the advancements of technology in general, and AI being a part of that. In music, you got to stay up to date and make sure you just know what industry you're really walking into in tech, because I think it's going to be a big part of things coming up. And if you're with it already, we need to adapt with what's coming. So definitely stay up to date on it and form your opinions. Do research so that you can actually know where you stand on these things, so the actions that you take can match up with how you're actually feeling, right? Next, we're going to talk about some industry updates. So yeah, I'm not going to mince my words. Let's just get straight into it. Capitol Records Nashville Vice President of Promotion, Bobby Young, has announced his retirement, with his last day being September 16th. Young has been with Capitol since 2011, and during his tenure has landed 76 #1 songs and helped bolster the careers of folks like Keith Urban, Little Big Town, Darius Rucker, Luke Bryan, and others. The time is right for me to step down from Universal. I feel confident with the brilliant leadership group we have now, and the organization will continue to grow and thrive. And with that message from George Ashe, distributed early Monday, December 12th, the end of an era at Universal Music Australia and New Zealand. So we have George Ashe with that goodbye. He is stepping down, and Sean Warner is going to take over as the president of Australia and New Zealand from January 1st of 2023. So very top of the year, he is going to come over and take over Mr. Ashe's position. To mark the holiday season, Universal Music Group has announced the launch of the Music for Good charity auction to help raise much needed funds for a variety of causes. The auction, launched in partnership with Charity Buzz, will offer a range of exclusive items and experiences provided by UMG's labels and artists. The auction items include VIP meet and greet tickets to Katy Perry's Play residency in Las Vegas, tickets to Billie Eilish's Happier Than Ever, the hometown encore in Los Angeles, and an A&R session with Republic Records in New York, a signed guitar from Shawn Mendes, and accommodations for two on the Blue Note at the Sea Cruise, an exclusive dinner with Blue Note President Don Was. Cool, man. If you can possibly be involved and want to do more research on how to, go to the description or the comments of wherever you're watching this, find the news links Google Doc, and you'll find everything that you need to. Moving on, Universal Music Group's digital strategy team has created new roles to further promote new partnerships and initiatives in the Web3 and Metaverse space, as well as accelerator startups and early stage companies. So first you have Alvaro Galbetta Velilla. I didn't say that correctly, but Alvaro, an entertainment executive with 2 decades of experience at the intersection of music and technology, has been appointed effective immediately to Senior Vice President of New Business. He joins UMG from SoundCloud, where he served as Director of Business Development. He will work closely with UMG departments and key collaborators to develop opportunities in the Web3 and Metaverse sectors, as well as other emerging areas of digital business development. And then we have Kirsten Bender, who plays a key role in implementing digital business partnerships with UMG operating units and directing the majors' engagement with entrepreneurs globally. It has been elevated to Senior Vice President of Digital Innovation Strategy and Business Development. These two are based in Santa Monica and report to Michael Nash, Executive Vice President, Chief Digital Officer. Very cool. And then finally in this section, longtime country music Hall of Fame and museum executive, esteemed historian Jay Orr, will retire from the organization at the end of the month. It was announced Friday that he first joined he first joined the organization in 1984, and after leaving to pursue journalism for a number of years, had been with the museum continually since 2002. His last day at the Nashville institution will be on December 30th. All right, moving on, we have 2 deals / acquisitions / partnerships to talk about. Connect Music, founded in 2020, has acquired London-based artist and label services provider MTX Music. Connect is a US-based music company that provides distribution and publishing administration services. And then we have China-based NetEase Cloud Music has signed a digital distribution licensing agreement with Pony Canyon, an anime and music production firm in Japan. The deal will give the music streaming platform rights to distribute Pony Canyon's music catalog that includes J-pop and anime music to Chinese audiences. Yahoo! We've got 2 artist accomplishments to talk about, and before we get into them, the first one is about SZA. Last week I talked about how I needed to listen to the album. I listened to the album, and I have some words, okay? I need ample preparation. First of all, anyone who is hating on this album, talking about SZA's emotional immaturity, toxicity, and bullshit, need to shut up. Like, honestly, I saw a take on it where it was just like, if you don't have the same energy for literally every artist that is popular, like charting, then just shut up. Like, if you're not saying the same things, just be quiet, because that is what music is. Music is a translation of people's pain, people's joy, people's flaws, people's bullshit, thought processes, experience. It doesn't have to be emotionally mature. It's good. It's moving. It's thought-provoking. It connects people in terms of experience through language and sound. That's what it's about. It's not about being emotionally mature. You can be emotionally mature and make great music, and there's people who do it. Go listen to that stuff. But I don't know. It just bothers me that people are like really like chronically online and really up in arms about SZA talking about her experiences as a black woman dating men, being in entertainment, being a star, being just a woman who's going through like romance and things that happen in life. Like, yeah, so leave her alone. The album is amazing for so many reasons, not just because she's emotionally immature and toxic, but because, you know, vocally astounding. You know, I heard a lot of people talking about, you know, how her enunciation has improved a lot. One of the things that I've been saying as I talk about it, like with my friends and things, is that to me, I can just tell that since 2017, she has been taking her time working on her craft and making music that she loves and experimenting with her sound and having fun. And I can hear that with just how like many genres and influences she touched on with SOS. Like, really, it's expansive, man. Like, she's touching so many different areas as she's starting to rap. She's using boom bap. She got the ODB sample, but then she goes into like super poppy stuff, and then a little bit of like punk, like not even punk, but like soft punk, but pop punk, and then just she went all over the place. But it was all cohesive because SZA is SZA, and she has such a way about herself that it was still all her in these different genres, you know, in these different fonts, you may say. But I really enjoyed it, and apparently other people have too, because as of December 9th, Spotify charts, came out and SZA occupied 15 spots by her lonesome, according to chart data. The listings are reflective of the whopping 68 million streams SOS accumulated on the platform alone, reportedly breaking history for the biggest single-day streams for an R&B album in the streamer's history. So basically, sorry if that just like in your ear. But yeah, so all the people who, you know, are hating on my good sis for making real, raw, honest, good art, you can just shut up, because she's doing awesome stuff. And I think that that's how she should be thinking about it too. Anyways, moving on. Bad Bunny, the most streamed artist on Spotify and Apple Music's Artist of the Year in 2022, has clinched another win this year after grossing a whopping $435.38 million and 22 alone from touring. That figure was a record high in a single calendar year, surpassing the previous record set by Ed Sheeran for his Divide tour, which amassed $432.3 million. Bad Bunny's on the top of the world. I'm really happy for him. I just, keep popping your shit. That's all I have to say. And just don't do anything stupid. We have our last section of today, which is a legal section, which only has just 2 stories before we close out, say our goodbyes. Matter of fact, no, I am going to tell you guys. I'm going to make it a little bit longer. I'm going to tell you guys my favorite music and so on and so forth of 2022. So as I get that up, we are going to talk about this legal news. So in August, Sony Music Entertainment sued short video platform Triller for non-payment, and earlier this month removed all music from Sony UMG, WMG, and indie licensor Merlin. We have a dispute with Sony over $2 million, Triller said in its statement. A dispute which will be decided in the court system. Triller denies any wrongdoing despite a $2 million debt to Sony and is vowing to pay artists and labels based only on usage rather than its current multi-million-dollar flat payments. That changing pattern of music use is likely to be a legal justification for just not meeting current payment obligations, and it seems lost on the startup as it works to shore up its reputation and balance sheet before going public. Yeah, Triller wants to go public. I said a couple episodes ago, or maybe 1 or 2 episodes ago, that I think we're watching the slow death of Triller, and it's just continuing. I think we might see Triller bankrupt in like a year. And I don't say that because I don't think it's a good company or that I don't like them. I think they have a lack of organization. I think that they have a problem that a lot of companies have, where I don't know if the people who care are in the right positions, and I don't know if the people in certain positions have, the knowledge and the rigor that it takes to really do something. It's a great concept. Triller has been around for a really long time, before TikTok and blah, 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 blah. But the things that have been happening recently, like I remember the Versus situation, this with the lawsuits and just decline in overall status and things, and now they're wanting to go public. It just seems, it doesn't feel like the right path, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't make sense, first of all. And yeah, just with all of the issues they've been having and the way that the press is talking about it, the way that the company is talking about it, the way that the consumers are talking about it, like I said, I would not be surprised to see Triller bankrupt in like a year or so. We'll see if I can find and stitch together this clip in 2023, and if Triller is, I hope they prove me wrong. I hope that they completely bounce back and I can stitch this clip together and it's them freaking, I don't even know, doing the best that they possibly can. Moving on. Tangents every time is going to happen. Okay. Finally, our last story of today. U.S. rapper DaBaby, a.k.a. Jonathan Lindell Kirk, and Roderick Wayne Moore have been hit with an infringement lawsuit over their 2020 hit Rockstar. The lawsuit was filed by a producer called Juju Beats, aka Craig Mims, in Florida on Friday, December 9th, and he alleges that his track Selena was ripped off by DaBaby and Roddy Ricch and other named defendants to create Rockstar, which topped Billboard Hot 100 for several weeks back in 2020. We'll see how that goes. The judge will make their decision, take a listen to things, unless we have a situation how we were talking about last week, was a case being thrown out just because of like shitty behavior, but I doubt that'll happen. So we'll see. Closing everything out, I'm gonna talk about my favorite music of 2022. I think 2022 was a great year for music in general. I have 3 albums that I am going to recognize that are like mainstream albums, and then I'm going to talk about my favorite submissions of this year. You heard some of them, if you were on for our little intermission time. But my favorite album of this year is Renaissance from Beyonce. when I was talking about SZA with like the expansiveness, it's such an expansive album. It was so fun. I think that she meshed together the culture of, it's interesting because, ballroom is black, you know what I'm saying? But ballroom culture is black. But the meshing of those two worlds in that album was, I feel, just like seamless. It went so smoothly. Every song, I mean, the transitions themselves and the curation was masterful. But each, there's not a bad song. There's not a bad song on Renaissance. It's all phenomenal. It's all better than so many people doing so many things. And I enjoyed it so much. It was on repeat. There's not much more I can say about it. If you haven't heard it and you like club music, if you like rap music, if you like R&B music, if you like soul music, just listen to it if you haven't already. Seriously. Then we have SOS. I already talked about it, so I'm not going to talk about it again. That's my second favorite album of this year. She dropped it at the very end, and she got me. And then number 3 is Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers from Kendrick Lamar. I love rap music, and Kendrick is one of my favorites. I think it was controversial when it first came out, you know what I'm saying? But he talked about a lot of shit. I enjoy people talking about shit that not a lot of people are willing to talk about or are scared to talk about. And I think the main thing was Auntie's Diaries that people had an issue with. And just to speak on it, the way that I put it, and I was talking to a friend about this when it first came out, and I specifically said this to him. I was like, I enjoy the song, and I think that, him speaking in his perspective on something that happened within his family, he is allowed, his emotions and his experience is valid in that. And him going through the motions, growing up, and gathering information about things like transness and gayness and these things, that's his experience and that's valid. But I cannot tell someone who is of that experience that they cannot be upset with it. Does that make sense? I can't tell them that they shouldn't be mad. Because they are also righteous and okay in having their experience of being offended or thinking that that's not okay. I can't. Either way, his braveness in going out and saying those things and being vulnerable, because that's really what the basis of it is making vulnerable art about, his experiences and feelings about things. That's what I commend. I think sonically it was great. I appreciate that he challenged our thought and made us think about things and touched on certain subjects and concepts. And once again, sonically it was great, and it's just another one. Like these 3 albums, none of them have bad songs. Like there's no skips. To me, they're 10s out of 10s. And yeah, those are my top 3 albums of 2022. My top 13 submissions. I don't know why I put 13, but my top 13 submissions for 2022 out of a lot, over probably 75, 80, something around that number. First up, gotta represent my man Flair is number 1 with Creep Away. Creep Away is hard. It's a great song. I'm blessed to be, able to say I helped out in getting it out. Check out the music video. It's a baller song, bro. It's really, if you need a challenge to get up and be the one, be him, listen to Creep Away. It'll get you in that mindset. That's all I'm gonna say about it. The second one is Had to Show Him by Janae Paramore. We talked about this last week. I love this song. It's still been on repeat. If you log on to your Spotify for Artists and it's you have one person listening, it's me. I'm literally obsessed. Flair happened to produce this. Throne Kid mixed it. It's one of those songs. This is a pregame song for my girls out there. Before you go to the club, put on Had to Show Him by Janae Paramore. You'll see what I'm going for. It's just feel good, hype, exciting, bad bitch music. 100%. We have Sly by Superstar 6. Man, great song. Very vibey. You could be driving. You could be kissing somebody. You could be relaxing. It's anything you want to do, but very cool, relaxing vibes, and obviously one of my favorites. Then we have Darlin', Jay the Prodigy. I heard this song for the first time at a plug and play event at Studio 18 with TMC, and from that day, I have continuously listened to the song on a weekly basis. This is a hit. This is a hit. I'm glad to say that I know Jay. It's a phenomenal song. It's pop R&B is the best way to describe it, but he does, throw a couple bars in here and there. But it's masterfully done, like, from the way that the production meshes with the vocals on, like, that ebb and flow kind of way in terms of, like, intensity and things like that. Beautiful. The mix is awesome. Songwriting is awesome. Your voice is phenomenal. I loved it. Then we have Bring It Home by Sim Streeter. This is actually the first, oh my gosh. This is the first song on the Run It Back playlist. I don't know why that was so difficult. But amazing, just classic R&B song. Pipes like a motherfucker, bro. Like, phenomenal. That's all I gotta say about it. Bricks by X Staff. I heard this at a hippie lounge here at Interspace months and months and months ago. And I don't know if that footage is still, like, up and around on YouTube, but as soon as the song comes on, I go to one of the camera ops and I'm like, and I was hosting that night, but I was so, like, in it. He reminds me, like, when I first saw X Staff and first heard this music, I was like, yeah, you need to hang around with some Chicago people, because it just blends in so much, that drill kind of aspect of it, like, phenomenal stuff. Did I mess up my mic? Am I good? Yeah. Okay. But yeah, one of my favorite songs, once again, to, like, pregame to if I want to feel some energy, and just, like, hype myself up. One of the songs I listen to. A friend of mine, AJ Gemstone, is next with Find Your Way. This, Gemstone is primarily a producer. He does a bunch of other amazing things as well. He's extremely talented. But a phenomenal producer who does a lot of, like, sample chops, kind of, that lo-fi vibe, some boot. He can really do anything, but that's what this is, kind of that lo-fi vibe. And great, like, study music. So if you are in the market for, like, study music, vibe music, you got a shop and you just want to play some ambient stuff, check out AJ Gemstone. He has a couple of beat tapes out that you, I'm sure, can use, and he'd be happy to supply you with, or license bros music. Like, he has great music for sync. So if that's something that you're looking for, go hit up my bro AJ Gemstone. Yes. Next is another recent submission, which is Ego is the Goat from Nove. I've had this song on repeat. Like, if you can tell, this is another, like, hype song. I really like music that has energy and that makes me want to, like, have fun, bust out, you know what I'm saying? Then we have Let's Get to the Love by Keith Andes. We talked about this last week. This was released in October. Phenomenal single. Once again, like, classic R&B, pop, killing it. Great songwriting, great vocals, great instrumentation, mastery all around. Next is actually an EP from Dylan X Pete with Forever Blues. This is a great project. It's short, it's sweet. I love the orientation of how everything is really kind of meant to feel like a show. Songwriting is there, flow is there. I mean, like, Dylan can rap, bro. If you know Dylan, you know, like, Dylan can rap. And he just exemplifies that so clearly here. The sound here is beautiful, and I've heard him do, like, so many different things, but I love when he goes in, like, the boom bap, more conscious route, and it was just it's a great project, bro. My hat is tipped off to you for sure. Next is Your Eyes, I Believe by Zandy Ashley. Zandy is, like, one of the cutest, sweetest people ever, and this song was produced by Keith, so, you have that mastery behind it, and her personality and her voice, like, they created something so beautiful here, and, yeah, go check it out. If you like pop music, if you like R&B music, go check it out. finally, this is so many Orlando people, which makes me so happy. We have Phenom with Like That. This was released very recently, but honestly, like, one of my favorite things that I've heard from Phenom in general, and if you haven't heard it before, go listen to it. The hook is great. It's very groovy, but he still, you know, spits bars on it as he does. And yeah, great song. Take a listen to it. It's gonna get you like in a vibey mood. You know what I'm saying? And finally, last but not least, we have One Shot by Throne Kid. Shout out to Throne Kid and to everybody in Orlando for being awesome. This song, I've said it before, I reviewed it last week. You know, people know it in the city. It's a hit. It's catchy. It's meaningful. And it just sounds great. The mix on it is great as well. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, Throne Kid mixed it. So go hit him up on Instagram at Throne Kid mixed it if you're looking for an engineer to help you in the tracking and mixing process. With that being said, y'all, that is my favorite music of 2022, from albums to submissions from you guys. This is the last episode of 2022, and all I just have to say is thank you for watching. If you have like stuck around and really seen from, you know, like I said, from the audio to the Instagram lives to where we are now, thank you for being along for the ride. Thank you for being here for the growth. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your submissions if you've been submitting. I appreciate you. You know, I love doing this podcast. It helps me to do this research and to have this knowledge. This is what I love to do in terms of talking about it and giving my 2 cents and bullshit on what I think. So I appreciate you guys for, you know, just tuning in, and even if you don't care, you just come across it, and you just throw that like out, or that share. It's all helpful. It's all needed, because I'm trying to build an empire over here. 2023, you know, in terms of Daring Defy, in terms of Nadia Sabe, and the plans that we have, you know, it's all about growth and stability. So I have my hands in a lot of different pots. From tonight, like if you're in the Orlando area, I will be at Nightshade Orlando for a spotlight stage managing. So I do a lot of stuff in live, done things from hosting to being an interviewer to being a graphic designer, marketing, digital asset creation, education, advocacy for young professionals. I do all of this stuff and I want to keep doing all of it, but right now I'm really in a place of understanding how to make everything work. And so that's what I see for 2023 is really just being acclimated to having everything that I do and making it all work together in the best way possible so that we can continue elevation without me feeling like I gotta take new shit on, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, thanks for being my therapist. I appreciate it. But no, yeah, I hope everyone, you know, is feeling good about the end of 2022, is around their family and their loved ones for the holidays and getting that, you know, TLC and rest that they need as we just go into this new chapter, this new time. And yeah, I hope to see you on the other side of it. Next week is gonna be not next week, but the next episode is gonna be fun. I have a couple of ideas for it, so I will see you at the top of January, the top of 2023. Thank you for watching, you guys. I love you. Bye.
I like the way that you move. I like the things that you do. Acércate a mí. Putting me in the mood. Trying to go there with you. Acércate a mí. I like the way that you move. I like the things that you do. Acércate a mí. Putting me in the mood. Trying to go there with you. Acércate a mí. Baby, you see what you do to me. You know I like it. I cannot fight it. The way that you make me feel, you make it hard to leave. You're so enticing. You know I like it. Move your body, mueve tu cuerpo y dame lo que yo quiero. La di-da-di. Cierra tus ojos y siente lo que yo siento. I like the way that you move. I like the things that you do. Acércate a mí. Putting me in the mood. Trying to go there with you. Acércate a mí. I like the way that you move. I like the things that you do. Acércate a mí. Putting me in the mood. Trying to go there with you. Acércate a mí. They say that things never come easy. Then you can take a trip. We'll live it up, take my hand, you can leave me. Pon de tu parte. Dicen que lo bueno no sale fácil. Toma el viaje.